Hey everyone, it's Ellis, and this is the 13.15 patch notes rundown here on the FlyQuest YouTube channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We're going to jump right into it. This is a pretty boring patch. And the reason that it's boring is because there's no competitive changes that take place until I think it's 13.18 or 13.19, because 13.14 is playoffs in all of the regions, and we do not know what patch yet Asia Games is on, which is going to be the next tournament after August concludes. I don't believe that there's any changes to LCK Gauntlet patch or anything like that, so it's going to be pretty bland. Nefiri is going to be allowed for Worlds, but she's not going to be on any of the other things going on, and Nefiri is a complete mess right now. So let's just go right into it. Let's talk about some things. Apex MMR Duo Restriction. The MMR Duo Restriction for Apex ranks has been re-enabled as of patch 13.15. I really want to kind of say F you in many, many ways. There were several tweets that I think a lot of people probably saw on Twitter. If you were to add up the views combined of all of those tweets, it was in the several millions. You had some of the largest content creators in all of the continent, like literally Europe, North America. There were even Korean videos, if you speak Korean or you go and you turn on the subtitles and stuff, with high MMR Korean players, everyone talking about remove duo rank restriction, because everyone wants it back. Like most people want to be able to duo in high MMR again. And when people thought that you were going to be able to duo Master Plus again, everyone was rejoicing when it was initially announced in Split 2. All of those tweets, everyone praising it, mostly asking for it to come back. And it's just absolutely mind-boggling that Riot is still just steadfast in this approach. And one of the things that you would notice now is that the league is turning into like Arena to have, you know, content. And you have Drew Toots tournament, which is going to be in September, which I will fortunately be a part of, which I'm looking forward to. You have the Zayu Cup, which ended up happening with the Polish community, which was absolutely fantastic. And now you're having these community-driven tournaments, which is the only way that we're getting high MMR content creators to be able to collab with one another. There's no other way to do it. And effectively, Riot is killing their own game on YouTube and Twitter and exposure-wise, because no one wants to play the game solo anymore because it's so insufferable. And everyone voiced that concern and how bland it is. Now, obviously, there's Clash. Clash happens, I think, once a month or something like that nowadays. So it's really bizarre. This is almost like Riot light levels of just disbelief almost. It's actually like Riot light level of just not listening to the community. I don't know what it is. I really don't. Especially because it's that community that cares about it, right? It's the Master, Grandmaster, Challenger community that's asking for it to be lifted. This is it would be one thing if like duo in general is just not allowed, right? And it's only high MMR that's asking for it. Master tier, you know, Grandmaster, Challenger players. Those players are the ones that are always asking for it, right, to get removed. And then everyone else, you know, Platinum, Silver, Gold, Emerald, Iron, you know, etc. They're like, no, we don't want it back. We just want a pure solo queue thing, like whatever. Okay, sure, in that regard, it's fine. It's really, really weird when the Apex community and all the content creators and stuff, and sure, there might be like a percentage of Apex that don't want it back. Sure, okay, I don't deny that. It's just, it's really, really, really strange, and I'm super perplexed by it. And again, Riot light levels of just confusion. Okay, Aatrox Q damage, it decreased. The Aatrox plus from last patch went a little bit awry. Awry, you get it? Okay. So we decided to tone it back a little. Q the Darkened Blade. First cast damage, 10 to 70 plus 60 to 100%. So they toned it back by 10% total AD, but he's still buffed. So from where he was buffed in last patch, he's still buffed. He's just not as buffed. So if you go back to 13.13, he's still buffed. So in that regard, it's still fine. Aatrox was definitely, I mean, he's very strong, with everything right now. So I think that, you know, this is probably a pretty good landing spot. Maybe like 95% AD would have been nice, because then you would have had like a really strong champion there, but I think it's fine. We can wait for more indirect buffs to go his way. Caitlyn, passive critical strike chance scaling increased. Our critical strike chance additional damage increased. Passive headshot. Critical strike chance rate coefficient 1.2 to 1.3. No, this will grant 27 base damage at 100% critical strike chance. Okay, our ace in the hole. 2.5% additional per 10% to 3.5% per additional 10% critical strike chance. This is kind of nice. So if you do like the lethality crit build stuff, this is also going to be a lot better. With Ivern also being as strong in the meta, and with Ivern also getting buffed this patch, it's also going to be even better for Caitlyn. So I really do like these changes for Caitlyn overall. So, okay. Camille, if you guys saw Drew 2 on the co-stream this past weekend for the LEC finals that were really, really important, if you guys didn't catch that, it was very important series for Excel. If they won it, they actually would have ended up 4th in the championship points going into the season finals. And if they lost it, they actually would end up 4th going into the season finals. But Camille, 80 growth, R on hit damage increase, base stats 3.5 to 3.8. So that's kind of nice. So she's just getting more, attack damage, which adds into her abilities, getting a little bit of damage there, which converts to a little bit of extra true damage as well. Very, very minor. But the real big juice is the R on the Hextech Ultimatum. The base bonus magic damage per attack is going up by a flat 15 at rank 1. And then it goes up by 20, and then obviously at max rank it goes up by 25. So this is very scary. Absolutely scary. It is a lot of damage added into her R. It doesn't make any sense. And Camille is a champion that, can build Sunder, so you get the hybrid pen and stuff, so it's not even like the magic damage you argue that doesn't have any pen and stuff like that. So it's a very, very nice buff. Now, remember the durability patch, and Riot did say that as they add damage back into the game, they're going to have to reassess how the durability patch ends up, coming out. But Camille with Aatrox and all this other stuff coming, it's very good. They are buffing Drew 2's champions before Korea. Gwen, so let's talk about, the milk. Base health regen increased, W bonus armor and MR increased. So health regeneration per 5 seconds, 8.5 to 9. W hollowed miss, 17 to 25, plus 70% AP. To 22 to 30, plus 7% AP. So just getting a flat 5. Obviously, this is the ability that you max last, so it doesn't really matter. Getting the flat 5 is definitely nice. It's not the end of the world. They're just giving her something. And I mean, that's exactly what they're saying. Gwen is still a counter pick only champion. You don't want to be playing her inside of solo queue. She's a basically only a competitive champion. She wants to get to 3 items. She wants controlled environment. She does not want the game to be chaotic. And so in that regard, it's good. Ivern. So there was the thread on Reddit, which was really weird, that I did not agree with the thread. I think Ivern I love the current state of Ivern just because he is very strong. Now, I do agree that it is going to be a little bit more difficult to balance, but Ivern is very buffed right now, overall. And they're buffing him again, actually, this patch, which is really bizarre. So Ivern, magic resistance decreased, W ally on hit damage increased, E shield strength adjusted, R daisy duration decreased, armor and MR decreased, health duration, attack damage decreased. Okay, so let's see. Base stats, 32 to 30 plus 1.3. So they're making it so that he's weaker to mages and poke. That's totally fine. That should be the way that it is. Okay, great. Now also a lot of his counter picks, which are like Fiddlesticks, Karthus, and Nunu, these types of champions do get a little bit more effective against him, which is also really good. Maokai is like not really a great counter, but like it is something that can be a little annoying. W, Brushmaker, ally on hit damage 5 to 15 plus 10% of Ivern's AP to 10 to 30 to 10% of Ivern's AP. So they're giving the damage back. They're not giving the damage back as much. Well, yeah, okay. So, I mean, the damage is, okay, the damage is actually just coming back. Okay. E, Trigger Seed. Now, you don't get this damage back until way later on in the game, so it's not the end of the world. You're mostly looking at, like, rank 3. So you're getting an extra 10 damage on the autos, which is kind of nice. E, Trigger Seed. Shield Strength 80 to 220 plus 75% AP to 85 to 245, so the base is massively going up and the AP is going down. Note this will still be a buff until Ivern gets 20, 40, 60, 80, 100 AP. Okay, so what this ends up doing is if you are a Magi purchase user, if you are going like Magi's on Ivern or you're going any of the AP variations, then this is going to feel a little bit worse. But if you're going to go the Redemptions, the Mikhail's route, which the full-on Enchanter Ivern, which I think is how he should be played, especially with Moonstone, then this is just a full-on, it's an Omegalodon buff. Now, this does remove the Ingenious Hunter Luden's tech on Ivern. Now, the good thing is that this kills the Night Troller build, which a lot of people were doing. And it's very frustrating to argue about like Night Troller and all this other type of great stuff, which is really good. So now Ivern goes back to just being a pure enchanter. Now in pro play, a lot of people are already very, very poor at Ivern. He has an extremely high skill ceiling. He has a low skill floor, but he has an extremely high skill ceiling, and he's a very, very difficult champion with a lot of game knowledge required on how to actually use his Ws, his Es, his Qs. And Daisy, obviously, is very difficult to control. And you just watch a lot of pro play and you see that it's not happening well. Daisy, duration is going to be 60 to 45 seconds. This now does mean, though, that at rank 2, you're not just going to be able to have almost 100% uptime on Daisy. So you aren't going to be able to just cast her to cast her and have her follow you around like endlessly. There is going to be a window where you are vulnerable. So that is a noticeable nerf. Now for rank 1, it doesn't really matter. You mostly just cast her to go for a gank and stuff. But rank 2, even with certain itemization, if you have ability haste from blue buff and stuff, maybe you're going to be okay. But realistically, you're not just going to be able to traverse the jungle with a Pokemon. Kind of like Gengar right now, Daisy's just going to be completely asleep. Armor and magic resistance 20, 50, 100, plus 5% AP to 30 to 90, level 6 to 18. Health 13 to 3900, plus 50% to 1000 to 4400, level 6 to 18, non-linear scaling, plus 50% AP. This is approximately a 5% durability decrease. That's totally fine. Daisy attack damage 70 to 130, plus 30% AP to 70 to 130, plus 15% AP. Final shockwave damage is unchanged. So the thing that people still don't realize is that Daisy is still buffed from where she was buffed when Ivern got his mini rework thing. So anyone complaining about the Daisy nerfs, it doesn't matter because Daisy is still overall buffed. So it doesn't change anything. She's still getting in more auto attacks than she should ever get in because her movement speed was buffed, which allows you to weave in more auto attacks. So it doesn't matter if they actually nerf her damage because her damage is already higher than it used to be, which means that you shouldn't care about this. So overall, Ivern is still in a much better state. Ivern is turbo broken. He should be brought down a little bit. It's like really weird seeing some of the Ivern players and stuff that are like worried that like Ivern's current kit and mechanics are going to be nerfed. Yeah, they should. They absolutely should. Now, I do agree with the E trigger seed, the reactivation on the E is going to make, for things to be a little bit more difficult to like balance or something like that. But I disagree in the sense that we're not seeing that aspect appear really in pro play. But, we'll wait and see. Kai'Sa, base health, decrease, Q damage, decrease, W cooldown, increase. Base stats, 670 to 640. QI, Cathian Rain, 470 to 100 plus 50% bonus AD, 30% AP. 40 to 100 plus 50% bonus AD, 20% AP. Okay. So they're nerfing... Okay, so all right, so they're nerfing AP. Maximum single target unevolved 90 to 225 with 67.5%. Now it's 45%. So single target Icathian Rain is way lower. So this obviously hurts the Luden's build. Maximum single target damage evolved 75% AP, and it used to be 112% AP. So yes, the Luden's build really does get hit. Okay, that's totally fine. This is totally fine that the Luden's damage gets the Luden's build gets tagged. Cooldown reduction after evolution 77 to 75%. This is functionally an 8.7 second cooldown increase on hit. Okay, so the really cool thing about the Void Seeker thing is what a lot of people were not realizing on Twitter is that Kai'Sa, there were certain distances, and I showed this in my patch preview video, that Kai'Sa could stand and still WW and proc her plasma stacks with Ludens. And now she's not going to be able to do that because the plasma stacks will actually fall off. The only build now that doesn't allow it to fall off is actually Liandry's. And so now Liandry's is always going to be the AP Kai'Sa build. Now, I don't think that pro players, obviously in Korea and China, are ever going to really, look at something like this and notice this. And so we can only really hope for LEC and LCS because we have the power of Twitter. And so Liandry's Kai'Sa is hopefully what we're going to end up seeing, where you turn Kai'Sa into Xerath. And that is basically where we go. Now, I also ended up showing the graphs on stream that show that, if you are just, poke mage, Kai'Sa, etc., Liandry's deals more damage than Luden's anyway, unless you start following up on Killer Instinct and, doing all this other type of stuff. with like autos and whatnot. So in that regard, I think it's all going to be fine. Kai'Sa is going to be totally okay. Maokai, Q damage to monsters is decreased. Q Barrel Smash, 100, 180 to 80 to 160. So this is definitely a nerf, and it will hurt Maokai. Maokai has been everywhere for such an extremely long time. It's really weird. People are still probably going to play him. Here's the thing, okay? When Wukong ended up getting nerfed and had his attack speed stunted and everything, there was that one tweet that, you know, said Wukong was dead. And then Max Waldo, the former head coach of C9, went on PBE and he compared the nerfed Wukong with the nerfed Wukong, you know, attack speed and abilities that got nerfed, and he raced professional LPL junglers in their clears that they did on stage, and Max was always consistently faster by several seconds. The reality is that people aren't min-maxing their clears on stage anyway, and so if you do really focus on your clears and stuff like that, then Maokai is still going to be viable on stage. Nami, passive bonus movement speed increase, Q-based damage increase, passive surging tides, bonus movement speed, okay, this doesn't matter. Rell, multiple quality of life adjustments made to Rell. Passive break the mold. All spells and auto attacks now apply the first damage first, then apply the passive. No, previously Q, W, 2, and R would apply passive, then damage, but E and okay. Q, shattering strike. Q maintains the original target location after flashing. Q maintains the absolute direction after flashing. Note, this should feel more intuitive and in line with expected outcomes. Okay. Ferromancy's Mounta. Okay, these are all nice quality of life changes. Sejuani, W-based damage is decreased. Initial cast damage is going to go down by 10 at all ranks, and that's totally fine. Second cast damage is also going to go down by 10. This does not matter. It's not going to prevent you from picking Sejuani. It's also not... If Sejuani actually stuns you in a gank, the likelihood that this damage prevents you from, or like allows you to live in a professional game is so unlikely. If she gets the stun off from you, you're dying, okay? Because this damage has to go through resistances. You're actually making the claim or something that you're going to live with 15 HP. It is so absurd. It's so absurd. Okay. Shyvana, 80 growth decreased. Health growth decreased. Okay. Shyvana's last round of changes were a bit too fire, so we're dampening her. It doesn't matter. She's getting reworked anyway. We're just going to skip it. Taliyah, mid-beast! Q damage increased. E cooldown decreased early. Damage to monsters increased. Q threaded volley. 45 to 125 plus 50% AP. 250 to 130, 50% AP. Okay. So just five base increase. Okay. And then E unraveled earth. Cooldown is going to go down by 2 seconds at all ranks. Cooldown goes by 2 seconds at first rank. Damage to monsters goes up by 25%. So jungle Taliyah gets a really big buff. But there's also a pretty big buff for support and mid lane Taliyah. So these are, you know, I mean, for Taliyah, who attempts to be a lane bully and does like to poke and all this other type of stuff, this can add up because of how consistently she pokes and spams her abilities. I mean, this actually is kind of noticeable for Taliyah. These are noticeable changes. I predict that Mid-Beast will actually continue to climb. So, you know, I mean, these are nice changes for him, right? Taliyah is like his best champion. He's doing very, very well. I think he was Grandmaster. He ended up falling to Master, but he's getting GM back today with these Taliyah buffs. True. And you know, we're all out here. You know, look, we're all out here. We're all struggling right now. I should be 102 LP, but I've dodged 70 LP away in the last 2 days. So unfortunately, I'm 32 LP right now. So I should also be 3 wins off GM, but I'm not right now. So unfortunate. Anyways, Yasuo, passive shield scaling adjusted, passive Way of the Wanderer. So yeah, he just gets more shield. It doesn't really matter except in mid game he gets a little bit more EHP, which is nice, but beyond that it doesn't really matter because in laning phase you pop a shield and hit him. Yone, W shield strength increase. This shield actually does do something. So they actually wrote the wrong thing, but it doesn't matter. So the shield actually does do something because Yone, usually you do trade Yone when he does his shield. So the shield is so weak that you do chew through the whole shield. So that might sound weird to some people, but if the shield is too big, the shield will often dissipate before the entirety of the shield is chewed through. If you give someone a 400 HP shield and the enemy can't chew through 400 HP. So it doesn't matter that the shield's 400 HP. So if Riot buffs a shield from 350 to 400, it doesn't matter that it was buffed from 350 to 400. Okay, it just does not matter unless like the teammate that you shielded got caught out in like in the middle of the jungle. okay? And a bunch of, I don't know, anacondas are just charging at him, right? That's when the shield matters. But Yone is interesting in that the shield is so little that it actually always does get chewed through. So in that regard, Yone's shield buff is an actual buff. Now, in Ivern's regard, Ivern, again, like, Ivern, okay, so we're saying that Ivern's, like, thing is kind of interesting. Now, Ivern's is interesting because of Moonstone, and he's multi-afflicting. And Ivern's is so obnoxious because of how spammable they are. Eventually, they are going to get chewed through because they're so spammable. And they're going up on everywhere, even though the shield size is absolutely massive. Okay. Smite and ultimate summons. Non-damage to lane minions, 600 to 1200 to 20 to 60. 20% slow for 2 seconds. Unlocked on first upgrade to Unleash Smite. Unlocked on second upgrade to Primal Smite. Okay. So this is all fine. And then obviously all the pets actually get a lot of buffs. The biggest one is Yorick. I'm really curious to see what happens to Yorick's win rate now. Because I think that Yorick is... This is a pretty big buff to Yorick. It really, 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 really is. Blade of the Ruin King, Vampiric Scepter, Aurelia, like, Fiora, like, a lot of champions that could just heal completely to full off of Maiden because it didn't have any resists. So if they had Lifesteal or Bloodline in their kit, they just go 100% HP off Maiden. They can't do that anymore. So I'm really curious what happens to Yorick's win rate in solo queue now because of this change. So that's really interesting. Now, all Yorick actually needs, I think, to become viable is to add about 150 or like 200 range to his W cast. That's it. Add like 150 or 200 range to his W cast range, instantly viable. That's all the champion needs, instantaneously viable. Or even like 125, something so minor, and he would be instantly viable. But this is a very nice step in the right direction. Item, Night Harvester, good, get rid of it, it's terrible. Okay. Glacial Augment, okay. Arena Balance, I'm not going to end up reading this. ARAM, bug fixes, okay. Upcoming skins and chromas, okay. So let's recap. What actually affects competitive here? So what ends up affecting competitive is obviously the Smite changes are really big for Tibbers and Ivern. Technically Heimerdinger's support too. Yorick not going to appear in competitive, so it doesn't matter. Yone change is actually kind of okay for competitive. Yone probably actually gets like an auto or two worth of HP in laning. The Taliyah change is big. If she does get picked, she does sometimes get picked. Outside of that, there's the Kai'Sa change if they build Liandry's. Enchanter Ivern is way stronger now if people actually do play her. Camille change is really, really, really nice. Aatrox is adjusted. This is all fine. Okay, now we move into the most important part, the skins. Look at the thighs on Shaco. Oh, my lord. And he can clone himself, guys. Don't forget that, okay? Absolutely magnificent skin. It's just such a shame that, like, he's only kind of viable right now in Arena, and even then, not really so much. But Pink Ward is going to be having a lot of fun, especially because the skin is pink. Oh, my lord. I don't even know who this is, but I don't even need to know. Evelyn. That does not look like Eve. That absolutely does not look like Eve. What on earth? This literally looks like Jinx, like Lux gave Jinx a makeover. Like I don't even know what's going on. Okay. What is this? Is this and it's Gwen. It's Gwen, right? But she has like the same eye thing going on as Zoe. It like really creeps me out. I will say that all of the Soul Fighter skins, I really don't like them. They have like the Street Fighter stuff going on, where they look like Street Fighter in game. I mean, if you're into that aesthetic, then by all means, I think it's like totally fine. Look, all I'm gonna say is that there's a certain writer who made some really lewd comments about this skin splash art. She knows exactly who she is. I'm not gonna say what Jin is shooting at us right now, but it might not be a fourth shot. You know what I mean? It might be a fifth. Okay, so I don't know what this skin is. What is the skin? It looks like a Vigar skin. Shaco, okay. I mean, this looks like a really cool Shaco-looking skin. Okay, and then obviously we have the Viego skin. This kind of looks like something like Akuma. It looks like a young version of Akuma from like Street Fighter. It looks like something from Street Fighter, of course. The Viego skin's absolutely amazing. I don't know why like Vel'Koz has decided to like possess him. Like Vel'Koz felt left out, not being a Darkin or something. I don't understand what. Yeah, I don't know. Like, the whole Vel'Koz eye thing is, like, really creepy. Or kind of like Nightmare from Soul Calibur. You know, like Soul Fighter, Soul Calibur. This kind of actually has Nightmare vibes. like a human nightmare or something. I think that's pretty good. But that is pretty much it. So for Patron, solo queue and Clash and other types of things, probably only some changes, guys. I'm going to be totally honest with you. Pretty bland patch. Neferi sucks. Riot didn't buff Neferi. I don't know what's going on. I don't know. Maybe I can try to set up another podcast with the Riot Balance team, because this summer is just something else. But that is pretty much it, guys. It was a pretty short one today. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.